Relationships in warrior cats are usually pretty lackluster. If the main character cat is a tom, then it goes one of two ways. The first being that the main character cat thinks that a she-cat smells good or is brave or something. They don't have a conversation for a good while after that, and then the arc ends and they have some babies some while later. The second being, main character likes she-cat, she smells good, probably likes him back, and then dies terribly. Bye-bye love interest, don't worry, male character will replace you soon. Then, when the real afterlife comes around, you're going to find out that this character has been waiting for him in heaven for 17 years, and he's going to choose her, the cat he knew for 2 months, over the woman he's been living with and raising a family with for his entire cat life. You know, unless the authors decide to kill off her ghost to free this character from this specific dilemma. Also, why can't the cat ghosts in StarClan move on too? I mean, Thrushpelt's probably still single up there, everyone, and God, is he so much better than Greystripe. If you're a she-cat, well, it's harder to say. It's not quite as generic, but it's still off. And 90% of the time they end up in a forbidden romance. Leafpool's romance got a little bit more than the usual levels of focus in the New Prophecy. She had a forbidden romance, she did think about him quite a bit, but it moved quickly and we got more implication that they were spending time together than actually seeing them do it. We also didn't see much of Squirrelflight and Brambleclaw's romance through her perspective, but we really should have. I mean, she was the one who struggled with Ashfur, struggled with Brambleclaw's behavior, and we really never got to see how she actually felt about any of it until, Squirrelflight's Hope? Hollyleaf is adamantly disinterested in romance, which is nice. And then we've got Dovewing, who we have a lot of focus on her romantic struggles, but I'm a bit hazy on the 4th arc lately, which should change soon, but for now I'll just leave it here for fear of getting a few details wrong. Violet, Shine, and Tree are touched on, he flirts with her a bit, they have babies after the arc ends. And then lastly there's Twigbranch and Finleap, and, they're close as apprentices. They go a book without thinking about each other, and then next book Finleap starts getting mad that they haven't had kittens yet. It feels less like a romance and more like your friend has gotten into a bad relationship and you absolutely despise their significant other and you can't do anything about it. Or you're like Twigbranch's disapproving father. Reverse Sandy Nose, the reader. But I can deal with half-assed implications or the same exact plot over and over again, but I can't stand Rootpaw and Bristlefrost. Or should I say, Rootspring and Bristlefrost. I just hate it. I hate it inside and out. Rootspring has a crush on Bristlefrost. It's introduced very early in the new series. He's instantly all about her the very second that she saves his life. It feels shallow and baseless. He barely knows her at the time, just that she saved him and she's a she-cat. I'd like to think had Snaptooth saved Rootpaw from the water, Root would be similarly in love with him. But he's totally all about her, looks at her all the time, thinks positively of her. If somebody asks, of course he denies he likes her, unless it's plot relevant, in which case he tells everyone he does. Nearly every time he has a conversation with her in the first 2 books, she's rude or dismissive or trying to get him to stop. Nothing about her behavior beyond thinking, oh, that Rootpaw kid is fine actually, once or twice, feels like it properly indicates that she likes him back. It really makes him seem like he likes somebody who definitely doesn't like him. And Briss has her own things to deal with. Most of the time she's thinking about those problems and not about Rootpaw. She was absolutely sure she was going to be with this older warrior named Stemleaf, who is apparently just the shoujo bishi love interest of the entirety of ThunderClan. But he's interested in Spotfur, Bristlefrost's aunt. This causes Bristlefrost tons of stress. Class President Stemleaf was her whole reason for being a good warrior. It suddenly puts her in a position of weakness and she's in a malleable, vulnerable emotional state. And even in that state, she's not romantically interested in a particularly pathetic example of another clan's apprentice, and makes that clear, at least at first. I know they're trying to make her warm up to the idea of a Root-Bristle relationship, but instead of feeling like her growing to like him, it just seems like she's settling or giving in, which makes me feel bad for her. You can do better, Bristlefrost. You're a competent warrior. There isn't a single attractive trait in that little ball of anger who's half your size and half your competence. And don't get me wrong, I don't dislike Rootpaw or Rootspring as a character. I actually think he's very interesting to read about. I just think it seems weird that Bristlefrost would like him. And it feels especially wrong because Bristlefrost's first love interest was competent and intelligent, only for her to be shuffled off to the side to date someone at a much lower level of maturity. Rootpaw acts like he's a little kid. He feels like he's a little kid, even now that he's a warrior. And to get into more specific spoilers here, Bristlefrost recently confessed back to Rootpaw after he, told her he liked her for the 11,000th time. Bristlefrost's confession of, "Oh, I guess I kind of like you too," comes out of nowhere. She doesn't really have thoughts about if or not she likes him. She doesn't mull over the decision. If there's something she likes about him, she sure doesn't think much about it on screen. It's just the definition of a forced romance. I don't care about character chemistry in Warrior Cats. I don't think that there even is very much character chemistry in Warrior Cats. I'll accept romance in this series if there's some level of build-up or some level of believability, because I'm not reading it for the romance, and I don't think anyone is. I want to be able to say, "Oh yeah, that makes sense," more so than I want to say, "Oh, these guys are so cute together." Leafpool and Crowfeather, most people think that they're absolutely terrible together. I think that it's fine, because it made sense that Crowfeather's feelings were a surprise, because we weren't seeing inside his head, we weren't experiencing his thoughts. I could accept a surprise cliffside confession, I could even accept implied off-screen meetups that followed, because I didn't know what was going on in Crowfeather's head, but I did know what was going on in Leafpool's, and it was that she liked Crowfeather. But with Bristlefrost and Rootspring, it's different. Bristlefrost only ever has him on her mind as an afterthought. She's fully involved in her job as a spy and keeping peace in ThunderClan camp. She barely has object permanence for Rootspring when he's not on the page, not to mention earlier books when Rootpaw's attention was basically just an embarrassment for her. And let me just clarify that it has nothing to do with it being a forbidden relationship. Nearly every she-cat main character in Warrior Cats goes for the forbidden relationship option. It's just so average in Warrior Cats for forbidden romance to happen that I barely even think about it anymore. And, what is she gonna do anyway? Go for, Shelfer or something? That would probably just be embarrassing at this point. She really has very few options in general because Lionblaze's genes are everywhere in Young Cats in ThunderClan right now. I'm also kind of bothered by the idea that Rootpaw has been pining away for Bristlefrost very similarly to how Bristlefrost was pining away for Stemleaf, but in the end he gets what he wants and she doesn't. Granted, on Bristlefrost's end it actually made a lot more sense because she was a clanmate to Stemleaf and had a friendly relationship with him. Meanwhile, Rootpaw is living on an assumed version of Bristlefrost, a Bristlefrost he's made up in his head. And likewise, Briss doesn't know much or anything about Rootspring. There's no real reason for her to say, "Yeah, I like you too." Their conversation ended with an agreement that they can't be together, despite the sort of feelings that they have. Feelings that seem made up on the spot on Bristlefrost's end, and honestly don't feel like they're justified or functioning at all. And even though they agreed to disagree, well, no, that's not really the correct term. Even though they agreed to do nothing about the situation at hand, that doesn't mean they're not going to get together. I'm sure there's 3 more books left in the arc. They are going to pair up these cats as fast as physically possible. And in no way I'm doubting this will happen. Doubting something will happen and not wanting it to happen are very, very different things. This certainly will happen. There's not an ounce of denial in my body when it comes to it. They're trying to set up for later when Root and Bristle inevitably are the ones breaking the code, and I understand why, for this specific plotline, how the relationship going this way would be in the book's favor. But I just can't imagine it. Even when it comes to their relationship, Bristlefrost acts and thinks like a much more mature person than Rootspring does. It makes it lack appeal. It's like, I recently rewatched Avatar: The Last Airbender, and it reminds me of Aang and Katara. It just fundamentally feels forced and awkward because of the sheer difference between the two characters' maturity levels. I can see how Rootspring would like Bristlefrost. He's even built her up on a pedestal, but I can't see anything that Bristlefrost would like about Rootspring. I could even argue that Rootspring isn't her quote-unquote type. Stemleaf, her initial love interest, was a level-headed, standard good warrior type, the top of his class, her mentor's last apprentice. Rootspring barely scrapes by in his warrior studies. Along with being clumsy and angry and unsure of himself, he's just not in the same category. It all just seems off to me. And again, this isn't me saying that there's something wrong with Rootspring. This is just me saying that he doesn't seem like the type of guy that a girl like Bristlefrost would like. And this could just be me, looking at cats again and thinking, I really wish that cat would break up with her boyfriend. But, whatever. Anyways, I'll deal with it, but I'm not gonna like it. A lot of this is my personal opinion. A lot of this is how I feel about cat relationships, so nobody needs to agree with me on this. I'm not, trying to, force a conversation or anything. But, if this takes a few steps towards us accepting forbidden relationships in warrior cats, making it stop being a source of drama, then okay, thank you, do it. But geez, is this pairing awkward for me.